Today, we're diving into one of the most detailed user-generated guides I have ever come across. I mean, it's for a topic most people would never even think to write a manual for. But what's so fascinating here isn't just the what, it's the how. It's about how a community can meticulously build an entire body of knowledge to achieve a very specific biological outcome. We're going to call it gastro-hacking. And boom, there's the title. No subtlety, no beating around the bush. This is not some clickbait headline, it's a mission statement. It tells you exactly who this information is for and what it's promising to deliver. You know, that level of directness is pretty rare, and it's our way into this really unique world of shared knowledge. So for our purposes, we're going to treat this guide like a blueprint. We're not really focused on the who or why behind the community itself, but on the how. Like, how do you actually reverse engineer your own body using just your diet? And how do you organize that knowledge so that anyone can follow it? That's the real science we're going to be looking at today. All right, so the guide kicks things off with the absolute basics, cause and effect. Before it gets into any of the complex combinations, it first just identifies the foods that act like simple on or off switches for bowel control. This is ground zero for the entire system. First up are the relaxants. The author immediately lists these really common everyday things, coffee, chocolate, tea, basically anything with caffeine. And the message is crystal clear. If total control is your goal, these are the very first things you have to get a handle on. They're the variables that can completely undo all your other efforts. And from there, the whole classification system gets even more granular. It's not just about control. It's about all the side effects. Fruits are labeled as laxatives, spicy foods as irritants, and carbonation as a source of gas. You can almost see the author building this mental dashboard, right? Tagging every single food by its immediate, predictable impact. Okay, so now we get to what is really the heart of this entire guide. This is where the author lays out the core principle: how to manage stool consistency by balancing two totally opposing categories of food. This is the engine of the whole system. It's a simple but really powerful duality. On one side, you've got your thickeners or your binders, things like bananas, rice, and pasta, and on the other, you have your stimulators, raw veggies, greasy foods, that kind of thing. The real genius here is presenting this like a sound mixing board. You just push one fader up and pull the other one down to perfectly engineer the final result. But wait, the guide doesn't just stop at consistency. Oh no. It goes so much deeper, into these finer details that most of us would never even think to consider: odor, color, and gas. This is where you really see the author's dedication to controlling every single possible outcome. So first, odor. The list is pretty much what you'd expect, right? Fish, eggs, asparagus, garlic. What's so interesting isn't just the list itself, but the fact that it's being tracked as a key data point in this system. Next up is color. It's a short list, but it's a potent one. Beets, red jello, blueberries. Again, this just shows a level of control that goes way beyond mere function and into aesthetics. It's like treating the body's output like a chemistry experiment. And finally, we have gas. Now, this is the most extensive list in this whole section, covering everything from beans to dairy to a whole bunch of vegetables. And it's this obsessive level of detail, this attempt to account for literally every variable, that really makes this guide stand out. So we've seen all the raw data, all the lists, the categories, the variables, but now the author shows us how to actually put it all together. This is where the theory becomes practice. And there it is, the author's personal mission statement. In their own words, this is the goal: a huge, semi-firm load. This one sentence changes everything. It reframes all of those lists and categories not as just abstract facts, but as a very precise recipe for a deliberate, engineered result. And this is where it all comes together beautifully. This regimen combines foods from all the different lists we just looked at. You've got pasta and potatoes from the thickening list, leafy greens from the stimulating list, and then bananas, which also thicken. It's a calculated formula, a recipe built from all the previous data points to achieve that very specific goal. So what's the big takeaway from all this? This guide, as specific and unusual as it is a perfect example of something fundamental about the internet. Niche communities become these incredible engines for generating practical knowledge. They will meticulously research, test, and share information to solve their own unique problems, no matter how taboo the subject might seem to the rest of us. It kind of leaves you with a question, doesn't it? How many other hyper-detailed, user-built worlds of expertise are out there, just waiting to be explored?